types of fingerprints. There are 16 types of fingerprints we have. First is ulnar loop. Second is radial loop. Third is arc with ulnar loop. Fourth is arc with radial loop. Then we have ulnar, peacock's eye, and peacock's eye radial. These are the loop pattern. So let's understand the loop patterns first. First we have is ulnar loop and radial loop. What is ulnar loop or radial loop? If you see, there is only one core point. This is the core point. There is only one core point and one delta point. Delta means from one line there are two lines going opposite to each other, and the core from where the loop starts. These are the loop flows. So what is ulnar loop and radial loop? In ulnar loop, whether it's your right hand or your left hand, if the flows, let's say for example, these flows, if they are going towards your thumb side, would be called as ulnar loop. And in radial loop, there is again one delta and one core. If the flow is going towards your finger side, your pinky finger side, will be called as radial loop, whether it's your right hand or your left hand. So let's suppose if this pattern is in your left hand, if the flow, if you just keep your left palm up, and suppose if these flows are going towards your thumb side, then it will be called as ulnar loop. Suppose if the same pattern is in your right hand, if you check in your right hand, suppose if this pattern is in your right hand, the flow is going towards your finger side, so this will be called as radial loop. Now how do we do the ridge count in both the patterns? What we do is we count from delta to core straight. Whatever the black lines you see, let's say if we have to count this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we'll put 11 in as a ridge count, and the type will be ulnar loop or radial loop. Then we have arc with ulnar loop and arc with radial loop. What is arc with ulnar loop? It's similar like ulnar loop. It's just that there is one delta and one core point. And the lines between the delta and core is 5 or less than 5. It will be called as arc with radial loop. If you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there are 5 lines, it will be called as arc with ulnar loop. Again, in arc with radial loop, if the flow is going towards your finger side, whether it's your right hand and your left hand, but the lines between the delta and the core is 5 or less than 5, it will be called as arc with radial loop. Then we have ulnar peacock's eye and peacock's eye radial. What is ulnar peacock's eye? If you see, there is one delta and one core, and if the flow is going towards your thumb side, will be called as ulnar. But why peacock's eye? Because if you see the shape, the pattern is like a peacock's eye. There is a circle and there is this one line going from here, and when you do the ridge count, you will count from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you count straight from here and you'll put the ridge count inside. With the radial, peacock's eye radial, if the flow is going towards the finger and there is one delta, one core, but the shape is like a peacock's feather, would be called as peacock's eye radial. Then we go to arc pattern. There are 2 types of arc pattern which we possess here. One is simple arc and one is tented arc. There is no core, no delta in simple or tented arc. Simple arc means it's just like a water flow, and in tented arc it's making a tent. No core, no delta, so the ridge count will be 0. I repeat, if there is simple or tented arc, the ridge count will be 0. And then we have whorl patterns. So first is target centric whorl and spiral whorl. In target centric whorl, there is one core, two deltas. Same with the spiral whorl, one core, two deltas. What is target centric whorl? From one core, there are circles making up, independent circles, and they're not touching each other at all. Those will be called as target centric whorl. The lines are not at all touching. The center three circles should not touch each other. In spiral whorl, it's making like a spiral. So the lines are touching and it's called the spiral whorl. How do we do the ridge count? We count from both the sides. For example, if I count from here till here, the line count comes 15. And if I count from here till here, the line count comes 10. So we'll put 15 into the system. Whichever the maximum value is, we'll put it in the system. In spiral whorl, we'll count from both the side again, same. Whichever the maximum value comes, you'll put it into the system. Then we have elongated spiral whorl and elongated target whorl. Elongated spiral whorl. From the core, there is again one core and two deltas, but there are spirals which are elongated, which is called as elongated spiral whorl. The ridge count will be same from both the sides. Whichever the higher value comes, we'll put it into the system. In elongated target whorl, it's again the same. From the core point, the circles are not touching each other at all, but they are elongated. The ridge count will be similar from both the side. Whichever the higher value will come, you'll put it into the system. Then we have double loop whorl, imploding whorl, and composite whorl. Now what is double loop whorl? Double loop whorl means, in double loop whorl, there is a big wide S. It can be horizontal as well as vertical. There are two cores and two deltas. The lines between the two cores will be more than 5. How will you do the ridge count? You will count from left delta to left core and right delta to right core. As you can see, from left delta to left core, the counts will be more compared to the right delta and right core. So you'll put the highest maximum value. In imploding whorl, it's a wide S, but it's compact. There is two core, one core and second core, two delta, one delta and second delta. The lines between the two cores will be less than 5. The count will be again same from left delta to left core and right delta to right core. As we can see, the lines between the right delta and right core is higher, so we'll put the higher value, whichever the count comes here. Then we have composite whorl. There's nothing big or wide, it's a proper S. There is two core and two deltas, and the lines between the core will be 1. The S will be a perfect S, nothing big, nothing wide. The count, again the ridge count will be from both the sides, from left delta to left core and right delta to right core. Whichever the higher value will come, you'll put it into the system. Then we have mixed fingerprint. What is mixed fingerprint? The pattern, you won't be able to recognize the pattern. There will be maybe two cores or three deltas or two cores or anything like that. It is a very rare fingerprint. But how to do the ridge count? Whichever the delta and core is far, you will count and you'll put it into the software. Then this is your L1 shows your personality. So if your L1 is U or R, These all are fingerprint codes. As you can see, I've already mentioned up here the codes next to the fingerprint. For composite wall it's WD.2, ulnar peacock IWP. These are the codes for fingerprints. So your L1, whatever your left thumb has, let's say for example if your left thumb has U or R, it's steady, you are steady. If your left thumb has these fingerprints, you are dominant. If your left thumb has WD.WD1 or WD2, you're compliant. And if the left thumb has these fingerprints, you're influential. Then we have the ATD point. Well, there will be 3 points on your palm. One will be exactly below your index finger, and then we have your pinky finger exactly below your pinky finger, and the third one will be exactly above the palm, starting from the palm. So the shape will be like a delta. If you can see, there's a delta forming here. So you have to point it out and make a circle. And how will you count the ATD? We have this e-ruler software. Let's say suppose you have to count an ATD. What you have to do is you click on the angle. Make sure you put the first click here and the second click should be here and the third should be here. Please make sure you follow this pattern, exactly this pattern, don't make any changes. This will be your ATD. Make sure you mention exactly whatever it's written here. Don't mention 0.02 or point whatever it is, just exactly what the number is written below before the point. So that's your ATD. This is how you will calculate the ATD for both the hands, not just for one hand. Thank you so much.